Welcome to the final pregame Arrowhead Addict podcast show of the year. Matt Conner, I am Sterling Holmes. Let me just tell you, I am fucking ready. This wait has been too long. We've gone through every single minutia of this game, but we are so close. Connor, how are you?
Feeling good, feeling cautiously optimistic, feeling a little nervous. Lots going on, lots to dissect at the same time. Like you said, we've been talking and writing and thinking about this for so long. Let's just play some football.
And football will be played. First, let's get to some of the inactives list. Let's get some actual analysis in this fun we're about to have as well. Hopefully, we can calm your nerves just a little bit as we lead into Super Bowl 57. The inactives for Kansas City: Shane Buechele, no surprise. Clyde Edwards-Helaire. So, no Clyde. What does that mean? Ronald Jones is active as the third running back for Kansas City. No Blake Bell, maybe the only true surprise. Blake Bell not suiting up. No Darren Kennard or Austin Ryder, Malik Herring or Joshua Kando. Marcus Kemp was activated and elevated from the practice squad. So what does this tell you? No Blake Bell, no Clyde Edwards-Helaire. Those are the two main names. What are you thinking here?
I have to admit, I was a little surprised not to see Clyde. I know you said no surprise, and maybe you can tell me why that's not a surprise. I guess I've been looking at the short yardage frustration and the fact that Ronald Jones hasn't provided an answer there. And then I thought, well, if he's healthy enough to come back to the active roster, let's see what he can do, especially because of his receiving skills, in light of the fact that many receivers came into this game with injury concerns. So if you have Juju Smith-Schuster's knee, if you have Kadarius Toney's ankle, if you have Mecole Hardman who's already out of this game, it would make sense to me to put in at least a better receiver in the wideout mix or find a way, but apparently not. He's out. That, there's all kinds of conjecture there then about the offseason, which we'll get to in good time. But yeah, I was a little surprised there. And again, with you, the same thing with Blake Bell. Bell, that was a little surprising to me too, because so much has been said about this game and the importance of the run game. And having Bell there against the stoutest defensive front we're ever going to see in 2022-23, you'd think he'd be in there. So I find that very interesting.
Well, we shouldn't be that surprised because Blake Bell was a healthy, inactive scratch against the Cincinnati Bengals. Same thing here against the Eagles. Clyde, the reason why I expect a huge game from both Isaiah Pacheco as well as Jerick McKinnon. Jerick McKinnon is going to have his hands full with the defensive linemen of the Philadelphia Eagles. He's going to have to be what he's been all season long, especially later into the season, which is the protector, the personal bodyguard of Patrick Mahomes. And by the way, Mahomes at his ankle, he looked fine in warmups. He looked incredible out there on the field, shooting baskets with the football. This is not like a dude who's going to be hampered too bad by that ankle. I will say, I don't know why we haven't talked more. At least I've been trying to bring light to this. I'm way more nervous about Jalen Hurts and his shoulder than I would be about Mahomes and his ankle. I know the Eagles have not had to rely on Jalen Hurts, but when you play an offense with the caliber of talent that this Chiefs team possesses, number one in the NFL, you're going to have to throw to keep up. Jalen Hurts in his shoulder ever since he's come back, well, he's not had to throw, and when he has, it hasn't been pretty. That, to me, is the bigger storyline.
Yeah. I think that hasn't been as elevated because Mahomes is the bigger quarterback and everyone's paying more attention, to him in general. It'll be interesting to see how much the Chiefs test Jalen to beat them over the top early on. How much are we going to see this young secondary allowed to play in full? The Chiefs have been playing a lot of like 4-1-6, a lot of like that dime package, getting out there, letting all the kids play. You think we're going to see that early? You think we're going to see that early and often here against Jalen?
Well, yeah, you'll see the speed, the 4-1-6, the dime packages. You'll see a lot of corners out there. You'll see some extra Brian Cook on the field. Maybe Brian Cook takes the place of Willie Gay Jr. on the field at times. I think we do see a lot of that because the speed is what slows down this explosive, to an extent, Eagles offense. While we know about A.J. Brown, Devontae Smith, Dallas Goedert, it really is the legs of Jalen Hurts and Miles Sanders and Boston Scott and Kenneth Gainwell. Their offensive line is okay. Their offensive line is good pass blocking. They're good pass blocking, but they are elite run blocking. You need that speed. Switch it up a little bit. Steve Spagnuolo, for all the ire he sometimes receives from Chiefs Kingdom, what does he do best? He turns it up in big games. He's a big game defensive coordinator. I am very excited to see what he's going to draw up.
Yeah. Yeah. In this game, I think what really gets me excited for the Chiefs is that experience factor. Like if you're laying out coaching, I'm going to go Big Red versus Nick Sirianni every time. Like we've given him, we've given Andy and this, like even, and we can talk about this in a second, but like there's a report from Jake Glazer that Andy Reid has a decision to make about whether or not he's going to keep coaching after this game. And in my head, I just think the Chiefs are the team with a former head coach on the defensive side, a head coach in waiting on the offensive side, another former head coach in Matt Nagy on the offensive side. There's just such a brain trust here that the Eagles just don't quite have. Then you have Mahomes' experience versus Jalen Hurts' experience in this game. Like some of those factors there just have me very excited about the Chiefs are coming into this like the old veterans. They know what it's going to take. They can live in the moment. They can enjoy the process. And then they come and have fun and play football and do what they do best. So, yeah, I'm quite excited to see what that means.
I want to point out everyone is saying that the Fox analysts all picked the Eagles to win this game. Well, I'll tell you this much. They can kick rocks, pal. They can pound sand. You know what? Fine. Yeah, let this Eagles team that's played a whole bunch of nobodies at quarterback. Yeah, we'll just go ahead and crown them now. They counted the Chiefs out all season long. Where are they? Underdogs in the Super Bowl. What's this going to mean? They're going to win as underdogs. Want to give a shout out to Odella. Thank you for the super chat. The Eagles sack record overstated considering the quality of opposition and always playing with the lead. Chiefs by 11. The point of always playing with the lead is a very good point, Odella. That might be a little understated. They're very talented. I'm taking nothing away from this Eagles defensive line, but some of that sack numbers could be inflated when you're playing with the lead. Teams are always passing. They're not running the football. You can get those numbers up. Before we talk a little bit more, I want to give a shout out to the best sponsor in the world, KC Beer Company. I am drinking the Arrowhead Lager, the beer that we brewed, the beer that Verderam spilt some of the grain on the ground. If you've not had a chance to try Arrowhead Lager, I'm sorry. They sold out of 6-packs. It's not me. I promise it's not all me. I want to give a shout out to everyone who went out and got some, everyone who took a picture, tweeted it at KC Beer Co. You guys all helped make this such a success. It means the world to us. It means the world to them. Obviously, we feel it because that's our sponsor. And then they're a local Kansas City company. It's lovely to see everyone in Kansas City come together, Chiefs fans come together and support such a homegrown product. KC Beer Co. Dare to beer different.
Love it, and love that we have a special beer. This is a special season, really. Sterling, I was just looking back over the season schedule, and like it was like a quick run of just what the Chiefs have done this year. There's the giveaway game against Indianapolis, like it was like a laughably bad game that you couldn't redo if you wanted to do, right?
Yeah.
And then there's a 4-point game to Buffalo, a 3-point game to Cincinnati. And other than that, we're looking at like an undefeated team. I mean, it's like the margin of error, or 10 points is what separates this team from never losing. In a year where we're playing all the kids, in a year where there has been serious injury concerns at different points, in a year where there's been no Tyreek Hill and all that drama that entered the season, it's just amazing to me what this team has accomplished. The fact that Mahomes has entered that new realm. We've seen Travis Kelce take his game to a new level in a Hall of Fame career. I just think overall, this has been a very special season. Does this season feel special to you?
Oh, yes. And I'm the first to admit I was wrong. I mean, they've completely outdone expectations. It's not saying I thought Kansas City was going to have a bad year by any means, but I thought we were going to see a lot more growing pains. We haven't really seen a ton of growing pains for all these new faces, this entire youth movement. All this pressure, in my opinion, was also put on Mahomes. You lose your number one A, 1B with Travis Kelce, but you lose your number one wide receiver. You lose one of those guys who's known as a game changer in the NFL. You know, Tyrann Mathieu, the outspoken leader on defense, is gone. It's been incredible. I mean, it truly has been incredible to watch the young guys. They've learned from the veterans. I mean, I think Frank Clark, for whatever we wanted to say about him, and I know you and we've had some words as far as his production. We know this throughout his entire tenure in Kansas City. He comes up big in the playoffs. And what have we heard from guys like George Karlaftis? He's been like a leader to them. They've helped grow these guys. I mean, it's a good mix of guys who are leaders, who have the talent, who've been here, while also having enough guys who've never experienced this before that have that want to, that have that drive. And I'm not saying last year they got lackadaisical, but I do think there's some sort of, you've been there before, you've won one. It doesn't have the same feel. Now you have a whole bunch of dogs, a whole bunch of guys who's never won a Super Bowl before. They've never been to this moment. They don't know what it means yet. They want that experience. They want to feel the pinnacle. They want to be at the top. It's a great mix of guys.
Yeah. I love it. And no matter what happens today, and of course, I think the Chiefs are going to win. But no matter what happens today, what's happening with this team that's playing almost all first and second year players on defense and so much youth all the way around, every one of these kids are going to enter next year knowing exactly what it takes to get to the very top. Like you can't remove that deep championship experience from them. And the learning curve has been so quick. I just find that that's such a stepping stone for the future, that like the next window, so to speak, for Mahomes and company. It's such a huge lift. I love it.
One thing I want to touch on, and I know we've touched on this throughout this week, but I want to talk about it more because I think it's very important. I'm not taking anything away from the Eagles and their elite pass rush. They have 4 dudes with double-digit sacks. Hassan Reddick has been an absolute game changer. When you have guys like Ndamukong Suh and Jordan Davis, and then Brandon Graham's just a situational pass rusher. I mean, you are extremely, extremely talented. But for some reason, the national media keeps acting like this offensive line for Kansas City is the same one that was in the Bucs Super Bowl. It's revamped outside of one dude, and that one dude's now at right tackle. I don't understand that they think that this Chiefs offensive line is just going to roll over. They're a great pass blocking offensive line. So at times we know their weakness on 3rd and 1s and 4th and 1s, but when it comes to pass blocking, they're damn good. This offensive line for Kansas City needs some credit, and I think they step up in a big way. I'll go out on a limb and say I think Jalen Hurts gets sacked more than Patrick Mahomes does.
Bold prediction. I like it. I like that partially just because Mahomes is so good at avoiding the sack too. So well played there. Are you all out now, by the way? Are you all out of the Arrowhead?
I have about 6 left. 1 for post game.
You're holding
1
out.
for my dad. 1 for me. I got to keep 1 back for me for when I'm older and I realize, look what we've done. Look at the first beer we ever brewed, because I'm hoping there's way more. Yeah. I'm actually going to crack open a Baltic Porter right now. But I just think the offensive line needs more talk because they're a very talented bunch and they're not going to roll over.
Yeah. I mean, they're coming up against the only team that could really take more of the spotlight from them because of the offensive line. Orlando Brown. I mean, they're so good that even Orlando Brown Jr. is getting the Pro Bowl nod, even though, it's not deserved.
Yeah.
Or whatever. Like players and coaches and people around the league love the Chiefs offensive line. They're giving Creed Humphrey the credit he deserves. They're giving Joe Thuney the credit he deserves. No one anywhere doubts the ability of Trey Smith to absolutely maul up front and take on pretty much anyone. And then, Wiley, I was just talking about this the other day. The fact that Andrew Wiley, the Chiefs re-signed Wiley on a 1-year deal for $2.5 million, and all he's done over the years. Look, The Chiefs have paid him $6 million total for 4 years of starting caliber, like replacement experience at 3 positions. Like he started 59 games for them for $6 million. That's like some of the greatest value in the entire NFL that Wiley's provided. The Chiefs just coming back every year, bringing his lunch pail and doing what he does in the line. I love players like that. I love great finds like that. I think he deserves a lot of credit there. So yeah, I think you're right. Bringing up the O-line is a good thing. I think it's going to be great.
If you guys want to do us a huge solid and support Arrowhead Addict, you don't have to. If you don't bet, we get it. Gamble responsibly. But if you do like to gamble and you've not bet with us before, please go to www.arrowheadaddict.com/bets. Do us a solid. It means a lot to us, obviously. You've always been so generous with your Casey Bierko. Just another way of you giving back and saying thanks to us. Plus, hopefully you can win some money. That's what we're all here for as well. One guy I want to talk about is MVS, Marquez Valdes-Scantling. Sorry, I don't want him to come after me. Marquez Valdes-Scantling. He went off against the Bengals. I mean, off. He needed to step up, and what happened? Dude stepped up. He's been up and down all season long. He's been up and down his entire career. But this has a feeling to me of a guy who's getting his connection with Mahomes, but also a guy who's going to go off on that Sammy Watkins-esque type playoff run. I think he doubles down this game, leads all receivers in receiving yards, and has a touchdown again. What do you think of Marquez Valdes-Scantling as well as the wide receivers in general?
Yeah, I mean, I'm a little concerned about the injury report coming in. I know they're saying Tony's going to be okay. I know they're saying Juju Smith-Schuster's going to be okay. But the fact that MVS is there as the holdover, the proven holdover from last week, I think that eases like any nerves I have about it from there. Let's not forget this. So much opens up for Travis Kelce, like in the middle in the soft zone, because teams have to account for MVS, like still pulling off a cornerback and taking safety help with him and opening something up in the middle like that. Like so often when we say MVS hasn't put up some of the numbers, his presence as a tall yet speedy downfield receiver still makes defenses account for him and keeps things open up that way. So, I think he's done probably a better job even throughout the regular season than what he's gotten credit for. Some of the drops are an issue. Chemistry's been an issue. I think you're right. I'm hoping that the chemistry is better. You're right. Chemistry is everything with Kelce and Mahomes. Yeah. So, of course, it's going to be the same way here. So, yeah, I think that's big.
I also think he can torch James Bradberry, by the way. I think these corners for the Eagles, as talented as they are, I don't want to take anything away from what they've done this season. I know it's easy to say they've played no one. It's still NFL competition, not the same as some of the teams other guys have played against, but it's still NFL competition. Their yards per attempt given up is only 5.5. That led the NFL. The Kansas City Chiefs offense, on the other hand, though, averaged 8.1 yards per attempt through the air. Something's got to give, and I like the way it leans towards Kansas City.
Yeah, that's going to be really interesting to watch. I love, by the way, Deebo Samuel came out today, as in the 49ers, wide receiver. He called James Bradberry trash or something like that today. And it's like, man, damn. Are the 49ers still really talking trash after they got rolled by like 7 multiples of their own score? I know they have quarterback issues or whatever, but you can't lose that badly and then still talk trash about the team who made it.
Well, Bengals fans are still trying to talk trash somehow too, and I just don't understand. Blaming the refs is a Charmin ultra soft excuse in my eyes, which brings up Carl Cheffers. Carl Cheffers is the head ref in this game. Obviously, he likes to throw a lot of flags, but the Eagles are a team that loves the RPO. That is their best offensive game plan, the RPO, and they're very, very good at it. Why not? They have 3 running backs who are solid, an offensive line who's experienced and talented, a quarterback who's great getting the ball out quick, who can also run with his legs. A.J. Brown, Devontae Smith can beat their man quickly. When it comes to Carl Cheffers, how many illegal man downfields are we going to see in this one?
Man, I hope my hope is that he doesn't insert himself as a part of the narrative. I don't want to be talking about Carl Jeffers after the game. Either way, I don't want to be complaining about refs. Like let's just let these teams play. They've done so well to get here. I don't want anything to do with it. Are you worried about Carl Jeffers in this game?
No, I'm not. I think the NFL is going to be watching him very, very closely.
Yeah.
I don't think he's going to have a major impact in this game. I think these two teams are going to let him play because what happens in the playoffs typically, they let you play. They want the game decided by players, not the refs. And I think we'll see them hold their whistle more often than not, which brings up a physicality aspect to this game. I think the Chiefs' corners, this might behoove them. I mean, Devontae Smith's not a big guy. You get physical with him. You put L'Jarius, Trent McDuffie's not a big guy either, by the way, but you put L'Jarius, Trent McDuffie, Joshua Williams, Jalen Watson, get physical at the line of scrimmage. That, in my opinion, helps Kansas City. Be physical. They're not going to throw a flag on every single play. These young corners, what do they do well? They're physical. They tackle. They're not the best ball hawks in the NFL, at least not yet. So what do you have to do? Stay in your man's hip pocket. Just be there. Make them uncomfortable. They did that against the Bengals. They can do that against the Eagles.
Yeah, they're gonna make these Eagles receivers and tight ends go for the contested catch. I mean, there's no way around it. There's going to be very few easy gimmies, so to speak. McDuffie, I mean, what you were just describing overall is like what McDuffie does so well. And if I'm Spags, I don't care if you draw the occasional flag. I don't care. Like, I don't, even if it's a 3rd and long and it's disappointing and you extend the drive on this one drive, if you're making life difficult for them for 60 full game minutes, if you're frustrating them overall and occasionally it costs you something because Carl Jeffers is out there with his magician's handkerchiefs pulling him out from his sleeve every few seconds, I'm okay with that. I'm okay with that because I want you to make it tough. I want everything contested. I want everything like in front of you and in their face. Let me throw something to you. We talked about Jalen Hurts earlier. One of the ways that Jalen hurts a team the most, notice how I use his name as a complete sentence. One of the ways that Jalen does that is he's so good with his legs. He's such a good, I mean, you brought up the RPO component, but the Chiefs haven't really is he the most dangerous quarterback the Chiefs have faced this season with his legs? Do you like the Chiefs' ability to spy a quarterback like this? Because remember, I just keep thinking about the quarterbacks the Chiefs have played this year, and it's not like Russ Wilson is really all that anymore. Lamar's been out, although, anyway.
Kyler Murray's been the best comp. Kyler Murray week 1 would be the best comp, right? Because
but that was so long ago too. It almost feels like a different team back then. So I guess I'm wondering to you, knowing this defense, knowing what Spags likes to do, knowing right now, how worried are you about Jalen's ability to extend the play, to be a danger there, etc.?
I think it's a double-edged sword. I think I'm worried about it to an extent, extending plays. If I were Steve Spagnuolo, I actually wouldn't even put a spy out early on. Make him beat you with his legs first before you take a guy who's directly forced to be the Jalen Hurts spy. Because if you do that, you have a guy who's not blitzing, you have a guy who's not necessarily in coverage. That's an issue. So until Jalen Hurts beats you on the ground, see what happens. If not, you have guys who are athletic and talented enough to be the spy. I think Willie Gay Jr.'s athleticism would shine through in this matchup. And if you think he's not fast enough, you put Brian Cook out there. Yeah. But I also think it's a double-edged sword to where Jalen Hurts is the type of guy who tries to make plays. Not a bad thing, but that means he can hold on to the ball too long. I've been going through the sack numbers all season long, just when it comes to this matchup specifically. Jalen Hurts has been sacked more than Patrick Mahomes has and almost 200 less dropbacks. For an offensive line that's heralded as elite, what does that tell you? He can hold on to the ball too long. He can be got. So I think it's a double-edged sword. Yes, he can beat you with his legs, but guess what? That also means you can get to him and he can be forced into a decision that does not help, that hurts the Philadelphia Eagles.
Yeah. Let me ask you this, then the other side of things. Not only Jalen, but what about the run game in general? Miles Sanders, some of these others. Do you think we're going to see, because they could really move the chains on the ground as a unit?
Yeah.
Like,
Let me
curious what you think about that versus the Chiefs' run defense.
let me actually get into some numbers that I have. 1 second here. Okay. So the Eagles have the 5th most rushing yards in the NFL.
Yeah.
And they have the most touchdowns in the NFL by 8 with 32. What does that tell you? They're extremely good in the red zone. They're extremely good pounding the rock into the end zone. If you want to take it just on a full field situation here, Eagles average 4.7 yards per carry. Let me ask you this. How many yards per carry did the Chiefs average?
Boy, I'd have to look it up.
4.7.
4.7.
So the Chiefs and Eagles actually average the same yards per carry on the ground, but where the Eagles really excel, they stick with it. But 2, they're very good in the red zone.
Yeah.
They have to stop Miles Sanders, Boston Scott, Kenneth Gainwell, and Jalen Hurts in the red zone. That's what really matters, and that's what really gets the Eagles' run game to the next level.
Let's get into a couple predictions. We'll give our big game prediction, score, whatnot. You've already made a couple of predictions overall, but if I were to ask you for like your boldest prediction of the game, is there any limb that you want to climb out on, or do you feel like you've already made that and you're like, I would
say MVS with a touchdown. My Jalen Hurts gets sacked more than Patrick Mahomes gets sacked. I will say this one isn't necessarily a major prediction. I will drink 6+ beers during the game. That's a lock. That's just an absolute lock. No, I will say the game comes down to defensively for Kansas City, not the corners, not the pass rush, the linebackers. It's going to come down to Nick Bolton, Willie Gay Jr. I get it. It's the most concern I think Chiefs fans have, myself included, of this Chiefs defense. I think they're talented enough, but I think sometimes they get overwhelmed, especially in pass coverage. But RPOs, like I mentioned, that's what the Eagles do best. They base their offense around that. If Nick Bolton is back there thinking a second too long, if he's back there saying, is it a run? Is it a pass? If he gets caught in that no man's land, the Eagles are going to have their way on the ground, especially in the red zone. Nick Bolton, when he's not thinking as much, when he recognizes the play early and gets downhill, he's one of the best linebackers in the NFL. He's a sure tackler. He makes the big play. If he recognizes plays early, watch out. Nick Bolton's defense will roll. If he's not, that could be bad news Bears.
Yeah. Let me add something to that, because when I watched the Bengals game, I was so thrilled with the level, with the execution on tackling, right? It's like McDuffie taking down Jamar Chase on first touch. Nick Bolton, Willie Gay, Jalen Watson for that matter, Josh Williams, L'Jarius Sneed, of course. So much very, very good tackling. And if they can execute on that level again here, as Spags is bringing his exotic blitzes, making Jalen Hurts, young quarterback again, making him guess in the brightest lights, biggest stage possible, I think things could get really ugly real quickly for Philly. And playing from behind is not what they want to do against these Chiefs. So I think a lot of it's going to come down to the defense's ability to replicate their ability to tackle very well in the open field, to create less yards after contact, to make that stuff happen. They've got the goods. They've shown they can do it last time. It'll be great. My big prediction, I'm just going to say this. This is all just based on feeling, and maybe I drank a little bit too much earlier. I think Justin Watson has himself a game.
Well, how much did you drink earlier?
I don't know. I'm not going to say. I think Justin Watson has 2 touchdowns tonight. I'll say that much.
Dude, you drink a 12-pack? You drink a keg? Hell yeah, dude. You just look over and Matt Conner was doing keg stands by himself. Why do you think he's so bulky up top? He's just doing it by himself, just doing some keg stands. Good for you.
I just think there's something there. I don't know why. Hey,
I was gonna say really quickly, a little programming note. There will be no halftime show. No halftime show. Just throwing that out there. The halftime show will be everyone probably tuning into Rihanna. So that's going to be the halftime show. Post-game show will be me and Adam Best. Potential for others to drop by, but me, Adam Best, Verderam's at the game. Patrick Allen is down there as well. Matt Conner, I believe, will be doing a lot of writing. So me and Adam Best will be doing the post-game show. Do you have any superstitions, by the way? Do you have any superstitions? Anything that you're like, I wore this during the Chiefs winning Super Bowl against the Niners, so I'm doing it this time. Anything you did against the Bucs, you're like, no, fuck that. I'm not doing that this time because they lost. Any superstitions?
Boy, I feel like if I even bring them up, they lose their magic. I mean, I'm not trying to be mousy about it, but yeah, I like my superstition's my business. Like Michael Scott would say, I'm not superstitious, I'm just a little stitious. I'll say that much. What about you? What's your superstitions?
My mustache, the playoff stash, right here.
Love it.
That's gotta grow it out. When the Chiefs went into the playoffs, I had to have that. My Priest Holmes jersey.
Ooh.
I wear it.
It's so
Thank
good.
you. Thank you. Only rarely do I wear it. It has to be a big time moment. I wore it when the Chiefs won against the Niners. Didn't wear it when they lost. What's that tell you? It's the jersey. It's the jersey. It was signed by Priest Holmes, actually, but I've worn it so much since I was a child, it somehow still fits. I'm only 5'10", 170, okay? I thought I was going to grow into this, and I've grown into it all right, but it's a little tight, but it still fits. I've worn it so much, the signature is completely wore off.
Hey, by the way, what do you think? You think Rihanna's going to have a good halftime show tonight? Any big guests?
It's so funny when your team's not in this Super Bowl, you're like, I can't wait for the commercials. I can't wait for halftime show. Who is she bringing out? Then when your team's in it, I go, I don't give a shit. I'm like, I don't care. I'll watch it on YouTube after. I don't care. I care about the Chiefs. I do think Jay-Z maybe comes out, or maybe ASAP Rocky. But when your team's playing, it's a wild feeling. The Super Bowl just has this different aura around it. I mean, it really does. Like, you see a funny commercial when your team's not in it, you're like, dude, how funny is that? Someone tells us a funny commercial, like, dude, shut up. The game's on. Okay, do you see Josh Williams just make a tackle?
I get it. But I also love that you just said that and then you answered it. You're like, well, of course. Who cares about Rihanna? Maybe ASAP Rocky and Jay-Z, but who cares about Rihanna? You just totally did the thing.
What do you think?
Yeah, no, I get it. I think it's great. I hope she brings out the guy who sings the Applebee's date night song, and I hope she pushes him off the stage to where they have, and I'm hoping that there's then a delay to the second half because they're having to attend to his injuries. I'm hoping for all that. Yes, I just wished ill on a person. I'm sorry to anyone out there who actually likes that song. Not really. Yeah.
Can we go back to the coaching staff just very quickly here?
Yeah. Pull me out of that ledge. Thanks.
You mentioned it early on in the show, and I think it bears bringing back up. So we obviously know the storylines. Andy Reid with the Eagles for such a long period of time. A lot of success, but never winning the Super Bowl, not getting over the top. Comes to Kansas City, won a Super Bowl, been back to a second, now back to his third. Nick Sirianni, a guy who was here in 2012, wide receivers coach, canned by Andy Reid when he came here because Andy brought his own staff, made a lot of sense. But Nick Sirianni feeling like he's been holding a slight grudge against him since then. I have immense respect for Nick Sirianni. He's done a great job. Ever since that first press conference he had, I thought this is never going to work. But lo and behold, it has worked. But I think it does come down to coaching to an extent. And I think Andy Reid, the advantage has to be with him. I don't care how good of a job Nick Sirianni's done in a short period of time. Andy Reid's been here multiple times now. The clock management is still never going to be the best in the NFL, but sometimes that doesn't matter. The plays he draws up, and sometimes you'll see him call an early timeout to drop the play that he wants. What happens when he does that? You don't hear fans complaining then, but it's a play that gets the job done. Andy Reid, in my mind, is going to outcoach, and you mentioned it, Matt Nagy, Eric Bieniemy, Dave Toub, Steve Spagnuolo. I like the coaching staff of Kansas City so much. I think they outcoach the Eagles, and that might be the difference in this one.
Yeah. I mean, to me, that's the X factor here, regardless of any players on the field or anything else. if you said why mainly are you choosing the side that you're choosing when you make your prediction, I would say I'm going for the Chiefs, and not only do I think the Chiefs will win, but I think they win because there's a proven coaching acumen on this side, and you just don't know what you're going to get when you're out there under the bright. Like the Super Bowl is just another level. It's a spectacle of another kind. It's all the nerves, all the dreams, it's all of it, and it's all together in this multi-sensory experience that some players have just said, man, I came out with just way too much energy. Like, it's hard to be disciplined. It's hard to be like, it's all there in the beginning, and it takes some time to settle in. The Chiefs, they don't need that. Like, the Chiefs come in going, we've been here. We know what we're doing. We can carry ourselves as such and go to work. And to me, I'm taking the team that can go to work.
What is your score prediction? Just as a heads up for everyone listening, again, we're going to have a little shorter show right now because obviously Matt Conner and myself, we like to be as non-homer as possible, but also we want to watch the game. We want to get down there, get our down to the man cave, get my beers cracked open, get my little spread going and watch the Super Bowl. There will be no halftime show. We apologize in advance for that. We thought we were, just couldn't happen. So what we're going to do? Post-game show, baby. So we'll be back for the post-game show, wrapping up in just a moment here. But Matt, what is your score prediction?
I think it goes Chiefs 34, Eagles 23. I think it's a double-digit win. I think it's not necessarily that close from halftime on. What do you think?
Chiefs winning 31-30. I think it's a very close game, but I think the things we talked about edge it out in the Chiefs' favor. The coaching staff, I think that's a big difference. I think special teams, surprisingly, is going to go in the way of Kansas City. And if sometimes Patrick Mahomes, Chiefs have him, Eagles, guess what? You don't. Eagles don't have Patrick. Patrick Mahomes, Super Bowl MVP, breaking the Kurt Warner curse of 1999, last player to win Super Bowl champion, as well as an MVP in the regular season. I also think Diet Deebo Samuel, a.k.a. Kadarius Toney, has a good game as well.
Deepa. I love it. I love it. Well, certainly a quick note to everyone who's listening right now, watching right now. Just want to say a big thanks to everyone who's been with us for a whole season. It's been a ton of fun. We're not going anywhere. We're going to be here for the whole off season, analyzing everything that's going on, talking about the season in retrospect, talking about free agency, the draft, whatever. But it just behooves us here at the beginning of the Super Bowl just to say a huge thanks to KC Beer for being along for the ride as our sponsors. A huge thanks to our video team for doing what they do for us every week. And most of all, just anyone who's listening or hanging out with us to any degree at all. On behalf of any of us in any hosting capacity, we just appreciate all of you hanging out with us here. Sterling, I'll send it to you. Anything else you want to say?
Very quickly, thank you, Fabian, for the super chat. How does KC stop Philly's RPO? Linebackers, you got to recognize early. That's going to be the game plan. If Nick Bolton and Willie Gay Jr. recognize early, that is how you stop Philadelphia's RPO. Which, by the way, before we get out of here, who the hell, as a city, idolizes a movie character? That's who we're going up against? Rocky? It's a movie character, Philly. Come on, have a legitimate idol over here. Tech 9 over Meek Mill. Barbecue over cheesesteaks. The Chiefs over the Eagles. Until the post-game show, this was the Arrowhead Addict podcast. We'll see you guys soon. Go out, get a beer, have some fun. Chiefs are getting the dub.